Welcome back to JOJ. It's August 29th. We had a fifth Sunday in the month, so we had to come up with some more. You want to start with the Bible verse?
Yeah.
Okay. So this week it's Genesis 1:28. God blessed them and said to them, "Be fruitful and increase in number, fill the earth and subdue it. Rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky and over every living creature that moves on the ground." So Ott picked this one specifically because he knew we were going to talk about, we kind of ended with, Ott had won the tournament in Texas, came home, and COVID was here. Not really here in the house, but around the world, COVID shut everything down. So we went from
wide open
to again. Thankfully, since heart surgery, we knew what to do.
Right, yeah, we did. We knew how to stop. We did practice with this.
But our kids did not go back to school. They were on spring break that week. And then they got an extra week off, and then we had to go pick up their schoolwork. Mm-hmm. So I now became a teacher on top of it. Thankfully, Abby's was a lot online, and so she still actually got to meet with her teachers. Her friend came and stayed, and they set up a schoolroom in her little closet, and they had the best time.
They had school right there in the closet.
Yep.
The twins they did some virtual.
We would have a Zoom for like calls, 20 minutes twice a week, where they went over a few things with their teachers, but primarily it was me teaching them, and then I'd have to take their papers and take pictures of them, send them in to the teacher, then they'd be graded and sent back. And thankfully it showed me I don't want to be a homeschool mom. I mean, I was pretty sure I didn't want to.
But now you're really sure.
The twins did great. Like I'm a scheduled person, and so I was like, listen, we're going to get up by 9 o'clock. We're starting school.
Yeah.
We'll knock it out, be done for the day, and not have to think another thing of it.
Yeah.
And so they did really good. I mean, they didn't really complain. They learned with me.
Yeah.
They loved being in their pajamas all day. That was the best part for them. But tournament stopped. Everything stopped.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned the twins did really good with it.
I hadn't got to the.
Abby not so.
Abby was absolutely miserable. She needs to be in person with her friends. The only thing she liked was being able to be done and then go to the barn, and not really having to leave the house. That kind of really spoiled us because it's a 25-minute drive. One way to school, so not having to take them, that was awesome.
Was excellent. But Abby did. She was the most negatively affected by it.
Yes.
I mean, like so much. It was a couple weeks before a friend came over, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Before Kai came over, but it was
because everybody was still on the verge.
We're supposed to see people or not, and so we finally got to the point where we're like, whatever. And they literally cried when they saw each other, didn't they?
We actually surprised them. I'll have to see if I can find that clip for Jake. But we had planned to. She knew that I was going to see my friend Beth at Chick-fil-A. And Lizzie was going to see her daughter, and Parker see her son. And so, what she didn't know is that I had texted Kaya's mom and was like, "Hey, meet us at the Chick-fil-A parking lot," because I feel like they went a really long time not seeing each other. Like,
it was a couple weeks.
I think it was more than that. I think it was 3 or 4, maybe even 5 weeks that they hadn't seen each other in person. And so, because Chick-fil-A did they close some? Maybe not at all.
I think so.
But yeah, so so I have a video of them of pulling in, and then they realized that they were there, and they cried and hugged each other. And
it was pretty ridiculous. But
it was great. It's what girls do. Yeah. Like they need each other.
They did. But that showed how much she struggled with the lack of friend interaction, because school for Abby is
very social.
It's very little about grades or schoolwork or education. It's mostly about social.
It's the social aspect for her.
That's what school is.
Yes. We just didn't cut it. Like, she would stomp through the house, and I mean, I love you, but I'm tired of living with you.
Yeah.
I mean, she wanted anywhere but stuck at home with us.
Yeah.
And the twins were just, this is great.
Yeah, they were totally good with it. Yeah.
And so it was the first time that Ott's ever been home that much, ever. I think in our entire marriage. Yeah. That he actually was home for weeks, especially that time of year.
Oh, yeah, no question that time of year. I mean, since I started tournament, like major tournament fishing, which would have been in 2003.
Yeah.
Four.
Like
yeah. I mean, since then, that's the first time that I've been home that much, and because it actually was that tournament in Texas was like about the third week of March, because it was right around my birthday. It was right around your birthday, yeah. So it was like 21st. So I was home a week of March, all of April, all of May. I've not done that since pre-2004.
And then you were living at home.
Right, yeah. I mean, I was in high school, you know. So, I mean, the last time I had done that, literally, I was in high school. Yeah. That's how long it's been since I've been home all of those weeks, you know, consistently. So, it was very, very weird. But there wasn't even any local tournaments. Like, local tournaments shut down. I mean, none of that stuff was going on. So Parker and we all had to learn to live with each other. We did.
I mean, for that longer time.
Yeah, and Parker and I, the year before, spring before, really go back just a little bit before that, you know, a couple years before that in the fall was the first time any of us had ever hunted. And that was when Parker and Abby had both took up deer hunting. I hadn't at that point in time. They both got a deer, so it kind of got us, you know, on the hunting bug. Hence where the verse comes from. But so the spring before 2020, we went turkey hunting one time, saw some turkeys, didn't have a chance at one, and that was up with our friends the Gabbards in Kentucky. But so now, I mean, we're home. It's turkey season. We're like, let's take up some turkey hunting, and
it was ridiculous.
I mean, I was as green at it as anything I've ever done.
How many mornings did you go? 9?
It was my eighth morning going. Wasn't in a row, but my 8th morning before I got one. And then a couple days later, Parker and I doubled. But yeah, I had went 8 times. We'd had occasions, we'd had encounters, and we'd seen some, and you know, sat in the wrong place or whatever. And
it was so funny because he's like he's good at everything. And so we laughed because I was like, this is what it's like to be in a boat with you. Yeah. Like, you make it look so easy. It's just great. And, of course, everybody's posting pictures of the turkey. So
right. And here I am.
Here he is.
Elmer Fudd. Can't get one. can't get close enough to one for anything.
And look out. You're getting frustrated now thinking about it.
Which now and I'm not blaming this on Parker, but the first 6 days, he was right there with me. I mean, he hung tough. Yeah. 6 days of it.
And then he was done.
Which 6 of those, like 5 of those 6 were in a row. I mean, so it was early mornings, you know, going. But then I hated it because it was like 2 mornings later, I get my first one, and there was like 3 more there with it. We could have doubled on that first morning. That I did finally get one, but we got the bug, something terrible.
Something terrible.
Yeah. And when is it? This is July, so it's only like, you know, another about 9 more months. Turkey season comes back in. So not that I'm counting. You've got a Christmas countdown on your phone. I got it to turkey season. But yeah, it was a ball, and ended up having a really good year. I mean, now I ended up going about 20 days. I got through.
It was something very ridiculous, and I'm here trying to teach school to the children. And so, like, one day he comes in, and I'm kind of frustrated. And I'm like, you have to help them, like, with, like, a math paper. I was like, just help them with the math paper. How'd that go?
Yeah, I began and ended my teaching career in, like, a 30-minute span.
I don't even think it was that long. It wasn't that long, I don't think.
Yeah, it all happened real fast. My teaching career came and went. It was pretty quick.
So needless to say, I'm at home, the kids can't go anywhere, and Elmer Fudd is chasing turkeys. Yeah. And I'm like trying to like, and the biggest part as far as like business stuff is like tournaments aren't happening, but it's like, my goodness, we've got to stay relevant somehow.
Right. Yeah.
Like, we don't want people to think we fell off the face of the earth.
Yeah.
Or
a tree
and sponsors and
chasing a turkey.
And everybody is just struggling, and so like, we're getting some cuts, and they're cutting this or they're cutting that, and it's just like,
because nobody knew what to expect.
Stress of it. No, nobody knew when life was going to start again, or if it was going to start again, or what. And so it was nice because we were all home, but at the same time, it was like, this can't go on forever.
It was unnerving because it's like, well, okay, what does this look like in 6 months? Mm-hmm. What does this look like in a year?
Like, we don't got a backup plan.
Yeah. This is kind of it. So I mean, okay, this is fun and stuff, but so something's got to give somewhere,
we got to go back to work at some point.
Yeah. So that it was a fun time to get to have together. But
and I'm thankful our kids got to experience it as kids, because for them it was just fun. Like, for the most part. I mean, Abby was a little more aware.
Yeah.
But again, thankfully, we're not big, like,
don't watch the news.
We don't live on fear, and so, it was a little worrisome because you hear and see, all these things, you're being pulled in all these directions, so you don't know if you're doing right by doing this or doing wrong by doing this. And so we just kind of, with the kids, we're like, listen, we're going to do life, and, like, let's be smart about it, just like we would any other time, when there's sicknesses going around. Like, if we have to go somewhere, you sanitize, like. And
to me, it's not the verse we shared with this one, but the one that really comes to mind, it was what we chose to do. For me, on this day, for me and my house, we choose to serve the Lord. Yeah. And that was, like Jennie said, we weren't overly concerned in it. We didn't want to be ignorant and do stupid things.
It gives you common sense.
It gives you common sense, but at the same time, it's like,
it gives most people common sense. Let me rephrase that.
Our faith was based in that, and that we're going to serve the Lord in this, and we're gonna trust in Him. We're not going to dig into the world's fear too much and be overly concerned and get bent out of shape on something. Number one, we can't control.
No,
and it didn't catch God off guard. He knew it was coming, so He's got a plan in all of it. We're just going to serve the Lord and do what we can. And one thing that I do. Speaking of church stuff and speaking events, all that stuff, of course, got taken away. We had so many things booked.
So many.
Spring and summer.
Especially like March and April. We had so many different events, and all that was just
wiped off
we couldn't do them.
Yeah. But we had started doing some stuff with Fishers of Men, and actually their Easter Sunday, I got to speak on live on their Facebook channel, on their Facebook page, and share a message on there. So that was one of the few that it wasn't originally planned, but that was something that they picked up, and they were like, hey, let's do a virtual do a virtual deal, and had a great attendance that was able to be on there. So and that our church adopted and moved well, and to where once when it come to a time where we couldn't meet in person, that
we did online for about 4 weeks or so. Then
strictly just online, and then did the parking lot.
And then slowly, then we did 2 services back. No small groups, but just 2 services. We did that for a long time. And then we're just now, last week, got back to
a couple weeks ago,
small groups and 1 service. But last month, actually, as you're watching this.
But it's not been that long. I mean, considering that this was April of 2020, and then now it's July, August of 21 before we actually really got back to a completely normal 1 church service, small groups, all the above. I mean, it's quite a while before that really finally come back to be.
And that was one thing that, I mean, I know for us is, like everything else, like shuts down, and you get, and doing, we would do the online services, but it's so hard. Like,
it is.
You're not into it really. Like, you've got, for us, we've got 3 kids that they wiggle around as it is in church, nevertheless on the couch with dogs, and you got dogs crawling over you, jumping up, going here or there, getting bones. Like, it's just very distracting. and hard to really focus. And so once we were able to go back to church, I mean, it was
wonderful.
It was.
Yeah, I mean, just the music and stuff, the worship music.
Yeah.
Through the TV, I mean, it's good, but
it's nowhere near as good as being in person.
And what we were doing with 2 services compared to 1 service back again now, where the church is actually full again, and so many people there worshiping together. It's so much better of a feeling than what it was for so long. So yeah, no, it is that's another verse that comes to mind, is that don't forsake meeting together. I mean, that's we're not supposed to forsake that. We're supposed to meet together. We're supposed to come together as a body of believers, because there is power in that.
That, and I think through it, in June, finally, it's when you started having tournaments again, right? I think it was like June.
Pretty early June, mid-June.
Went on COVID protocols, and I don't even know what all they were.
Yeah.
But, they got to go fishing, that's what I know. And we were happy to see Dad leave.
You sent me away.
Oh, we did. We did jump for joy in the driveway.
Yep. He's gone. Yeah.
We love you.
I can feel it. Turkey season was over.
Turkey season was over. Exactly. He was done being home. So
I really was, and that's what was funny with it. I mean, as much as, and we looking back, I love that we had that time. But there is a reason, I think, in my job I'm gone a lot. I mean, I just think because it is better for our marriage. You tell me that all the time.
Oh, it's because I sleep better, because you snore and you talk. He elbowed me in his sleep the other night. Like, if we want to get real, he laughed hysterically, and then he elbowed me.
At least I didn't elbow you, didn't laugh.
I don't know. But, so, Elle and I sleep very good when Dad's not here. Because, we just get in our one little spot, and she sleeps on his pillow, and we don't move. And we sleep. So, anywho.
But that time did pass.
Yes, the time did pass, and he went back to work. But, then slowly everything got back to normal. Like, our kids were able to go to school, and they had to do masks pretty much most of the year. Kind of towards the end, it wasn't as much. But I think the takeaway from it, and, I would kind of tell the kids during it is, I almost feel like, it's like you said, God knew that COVID was going to hit, and yes, there was a whole lot of crazy that is associated and still is associated with the whole deal. But it was also kind of a reset of like, hey, stop. Like, for everybody, just stop being so busy. Like, you need to stop and really focus on what's important. And I think a lot of people learned that a lot of things aren't as important as what they thought they were.
Yeah, they're not as important, and that, that, I mean, there have been a lot of people who did lose their life in some way or another due to COVID, and a lot of so many people impacted from it in that way. And so for people to realize that, hey, that this life is temporary, so hopefully that there were people, who realized, what things truly are important, and to spend time with those that you love, and to get your priorities in line. Yep, no doubt about it. So is that it for this week?
I think so.
Okay.
I think we're going to end it there.
Okay, I think we'll wrap it up there. So we'll share that verse again that I think for Parker and I in our fishing and hunting during our COVID time together.
Notice how he uses Parker, right?
Well, we did. He and I went fishing a lot too. But so share that verse again. Genesis 1:28, and it says, God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful and increase in number, fill the earth and subdue it, rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky, and over every living creature that moves on the ground.
That's right. So next week, we'll be normal live again next week.
I think it'll be. We'll find out.
Are we together? Maybe.
I think so.
I think we are both home. So, so join us next week for live, and be thinking of some ideas of where you want this to go.
Absolutely.
Or what you would like to hear. We are no professionals in this by any means.
Jake is.
Yeah, Jake's the only professional in the room.
He's the only one in the room. But thank you all for watching. We do appreciate it. Thank you for all the feedback.
Yes.
Keep that coming, and we would love some ideas of what y'all would like to hear.
Absolutely.
Topics you'd like covered. So thanks for watching.